What up, everybody? This is 93 Phoenix, the podcast. We got a very special episode today. I have my brother from another, a very dear friend of mine, Blake Flaherty, guest on the show, and we're going to get into some crucial and deep information, and we're going to jump it off. Brother, how you feeling today, man? How you doing?
Oh man, thanks, dude. Thanks. Glad to be here. I'm feeling great, dude. All things considered, there's just a lot of stuff going on. But given everything that is going on, I'm actually doing all right. I'm lucky enough to be taking care of my bills, and it's really weird, man. I kind of feel bad for feeling so good, but I'll take it. I'll take it, and just grateful for that. And I'm excited, man. I'm excited to dig in. There's a lot of stuff to cover. This is a really great time to talk about what we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I always like to do a little a preface for people listening to sit back and enjoy the information, take it in. I appreciate your time and attention, and try not to let the emotional reactiveness to kind of grasp you and take away your attention and your focus. We're going to get into some deep topics, and I'm looking forward to it. Is there anything you want to say about yourself, Blake, before we begin?
Yeah, I guess I can tell you who I am and what I do. I'm just a regular guy. I'm just like yourself. We're just people. I am a carpenter by trade. That's how I make most of my money. I also I write poetry. I perform poetry, and I also I build art projects. I've done some Burning Man art projects, and as well as my own little personal pieces of furniture, woodworking, just a plethora of things. Those are just a few things that I kind of use as my creative outlets. But I also I wanted to kind of preface this whole thing. The reason I am kind of highlighting the fact that Will and I are just normal people. We have put in a good amount of time and research into some of the things that we've talked about. Him and I have both been on a very similar path for years, and a lot of it has to do with very kind of fringy, esoteric, concepts and information. But I wanted to tell you guys, everyone out there, maybe people that don't know us, we're everyday people, and we don't claim to be experts in any of the stuff that we're talking about, but we also want to highlight the fact that you don't have to be an expert to understand simple concepts. So a lot of stuff we're going to be talking about is very simple. It's deep, but it's simple.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be an epidemiologist to be able to understand simple medical graphs and statistics. There's kind of this bullshit narrative that's being pushed that, we need to all shut up and we need to listen to the science and the facts, right? It's like, only they know, and that's, we know that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be a world-class economist to know that self-quarantining a whole country for 2 months or however long this is going to last, you don't have to be an economist to know what that's going to do to small business and the availability of goods and services, and to people, to you, to me, to my family. So we reject that whole, kind of philosophy that everybody is kind of throwing around there. Give yourselves some credit, to be able to understand things, especially when they're simple, especially when they're right there, in your face. We can all look at a graph and be like, okay, I see what that is saying. of course, statistics can be manipulative, and we all need to be aware of that, and and be critical, obviously.
Yeah, man. You can't, you know, we're powerful beings, and you can't give up your power. You know, anyone has the capability to use logic and reason, and just with
That's right.
with a little bit of attention and putting the effort into it. Um, I'm a regular Joe, but I will say this: in the last 7 years, I've learned more than my whole um, years of schooling. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's all self-taught, but there was a passion and a desire behind it for knowledge, research, truth, and and wisdom, and you know, gathering all that information, understanding it, and getting down to brass tacks and seeing what's really going on with you know, myself as an individual person and reality. So yeah, people, that's a good point. People definitely got to give themselves a little credit and understand that that you're a powerful being, and your mind is something incredible. So you know, put it to use, and just don't take, you know, no dogmas, no blind faith. You know, that's what belief is, right? Belief is just blind faith with no
exactly.
evidence whatsoever.
Right,
And
right. Yeah,
when you do
I
that, you
definitely
give up.
reject the idea of, sorry.
No, it's cool. Go ahead.
I reject the idea of blind faith. You know, it's uh faith. I like the idea of faith, you know, but I think faith is based on, yeah, you know, history and previous. If you have a faithful servant, you know,
Mm,
they're faithful because they have been there for you time and time again. So, you know, that's why we call them faithful. And that's really what faith is. This whole idea of, oh, you should just believe because that's it. You know, they're like, no, no. But my faith is based on my ability to recognize the patterns, to be able to see how things happen time and time again. You know, when I fall on my face, but there's always something there to pick me up, you know,
yeah.
time and time again.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, basically, you know, you and I kind of talked earlier, and kind of loosely, we've been talking a while about doing this talk, and kind of, you know, spitballing, and um, you know, trying to figure out what we think is important to start off with. And we kind of came up with some stuff. I'm just going to kind of go over it real quick,
Cool.
uh, and then we can kind of dig in.
Yeah, man.
So uh, one of the, I guess there's three things we're going to talk about. Um, one of the things that we're going to be getting into is, you know, information, right? And how, and sharing information. And this mostly pertains to what I'm going to call controversial, um, what I'm going to unfortunately describe as conspiracy theory. I say unfortunately because, you know, uh, we know that's a derogatory term. In fact, uh, w- there's actually, it's been proven, right, through the Freedom of Information Act. Uh, it has been revealed that the actual term conspiracy theory or theorist was actually created and coined by the Central Intelligence Agency
Mhm.
just after the assassination of JFK. Right.
That's right.
This is documented. We'll probably throw up an image on this cast later on, and people can check that out for themselves. You know, go duck duck go it. Uh, don't use the Google if
Yeah,
you
yeah,
don't
no
know.
way.
If you don't know, you should know. Um, but yeah, you know, they created the term basically to demonize those that were questioning, that were rightfully questioning the, you know, the narrative that was given by, you know, the media at the time, the whole Lee Harvey Oswald acting alone, like every everyone knows that's bullshit, you know.
Yeah.
But that term was created kind of preemptively, um, so that it can be used to discredit people that were questioning. And it's not like the concept of, theorizing about conspiracies is new. You could say that when they thought the Earth was flat and there was other people, other civilizations, that were saying, no, but it's round. It's a sphere. We've actually known it's a sphere for a long time. Um, but that didn't fit whatever agenda they had going, and those people, they created names for them as well. It may have not been conspiracy theorists. It was probably more like devil worshiping, or
Yeah.
bad science.
Which, real quick, I want to interject with a quote from JFK, right? This is 7 days before his assassination, his murder. He quotes, "There's a plot in this country to enslave every man, woman, and child. Before I leave this high and noble office, I intend to expose this plot." Bam, 7 days later,
Woo!
shot and killed,
Woo!
right?
Woo!
But yeah,
Yep. Yep.
there's an obfuscation tactic, right, where they create confusion, and
Right.
the
Right.
term conspiracy theory,
Right. Right.
that's one of those tactics that they use. It's to put people in a box.
Yep. 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 It's exactly. And I will expand further and venture to say that you know there's a lot of talk about fake news, and I personally, I don't like that term. It's basically like the bastard child of propaganda. It's just only slightly different. I prefer the term disinformation, because that's what this stuff is. Here's the thing: the truth is at your fingertips, right? There's so much information being shared, and it's all right there. We're able to communicate to each other so many things. um, and best believe that the controllers of the world, we're going to call them the controllers, they're aware of this. They know that the truth can be easily accessed. So what they do, okay, is they create lots and lots and lots of false narratives to kind of throw in with out there in the sea of information, along with what's actually happened, right? Whatever has actually transpired, right? So, they kind of, they're out there, and they're tricking the people that, are asking questions. We all have fallen for some of the bullshit conspiracy theories that have circulated. It's a very clever tactic. It's very smart. It's funny. I was thinking of this analogy. I'm in construction, and sometimes we're building a house, right? Or sometimes I'm building a house, and I need a big tool for whatever I'm doing. Say it's a big chop saw. So you have this big chop saw, and it's in the backyard or something. It's big, and you don't want to move it around. So a lot of times, instead of putting it back in the house or putting it back in my truck and taking it home, I will leave it on the site, right? And of course, I don't want people to steal my chop saw. So what I'll usually do is I will place a bunch of junk around the chop saw, right? I'll put like a cardboard box next to it, and then put like some other stuff on top of it, some garbage to the side, put a bunch of things that just kind of like hide it while it's sitting there in plain sight, right? So that if someone were to, break onto the property and try to steal some stuff, they're going to walk right past the big expensive tool, not knowing it's there, because I've covered it in so much garbage.
I love it. Hidden in plain sight.
Hidden in plain sight. Exactly. That's exactly what that is. That's exactly what I'm doing, And so, yeah, these guys are super aware of that tactic, and that's what they employ. And unfortunately, we have a lot of our truth warrior comrades that's they end up taking the pieces of garbage with them, thinking that it's of of value.
Yeah, right. That's ultimately a good topic of discernment.
Yeah, right.
Learning how to discern. Discernment is a process of analyzing an idea or a premise based on the evidence, right? And then there's
Exactly.
the credibility discernment trap, which is a tendency to focus on who is sharing the information rather than what the information is.
Oh, preach, dude, preach,
You know what I
bro.
mean? And
Yeah.
people go for that so easily. It reminds me of the movie Catch Me If You Can with Leonardo DiCaprio, right? When he pretends to be all these people, he's the pilot, and just because he's got the uniform on, he looks like a pilot. He is the pilot. He flies around the country and he does all that shit. But anyways, uh, so yeah, so um, credibility discernment trap, definitely. Focusing on who is sharing the idea uh, instead of what the idea is or
Oh,
information.
it
So,
happens all the time. It happens all the time. I recently shared a video of this doctor kind of giving his own 2 cents, sharing some what I thought was very important information, and in regards to what's happening with COVID-19 and how it doesn't kind of fit the narrative of what's going on. But anyways, I gave this piece of information along with about 9 other documents and testimonials from different doctors, epidemiologists, all these things. And she watched one video, and I made the mistake of posting a video that had some commentary at the end. Right? There was
mhm,
the doctor who had some important things to say, but there was some commentary at the end, and it had to do with 5G and some other stuff, and 5G, whether 5G is an actual thing or not. I don't know enough about it. I don't know enough about sound waves. I will admit that I don't know enough about the science to call it either way, or to be able to discern, like you're saying,
mhm.
if there is some stuff behind there that there may be. I'm not saying one way or the other, but I stay away from stuff that I can't make a call on, right?
Sure.
So she attacked that part, right? And then the next video, right, it seemed like she was kind of nitpicking. She was kind of swinging for the low hanging fruit, which I don't blame her for.
Mhm,
But the next one was a doctor who was a chiropractor, right? And say what you will about the field. I don't judge a whole field based on whatever my experience is, but she said, oh, that guy's a chiropractor, he's a quack, all chiropractors are quacks, so I'm done with this. Right? She
mhm,
threw up her hands, said, I have better things to do, or I don't have time, you know uh and just kind of gave up. And I was like, well, just like you're saying, I was saying, at least listen to what he's saying before you judge him. Like, debate what he is actually saying, and don't just you know assume blah blah blah. And unfortunately, she took that, and she took the other, the commentary about the 5G. She basically used all that as an excuse to not look at any of the other evidence. There's 10 different, I laboriously copy and pasted all these places on this thread, but she took that and she ran with, like, with her tail between her legs. She tried to, I've got I got better things, or I don't have time for this. I'm like, uh, are you not quarantined like the rest of us? Do you not have like 100 extra hours a day of time
Yeah, right.
like the rest of us?
Yeah, the nitpicking and stuff, I mean, they want to, people want to dictate what truth is, or, it's a logical fallacy to just pick and choose what information you want to look at and try to make a logical conclusion from that that stance. That's not going to work. That I put that in the category of of a belief system and cognitive dissonance.
Right. Well, that's what it is. She was definitely looking to make excuses. And like that would never fly in a court of law. If you're a judge and someone presents you with a body of evidence, and there are a few points that are like little questionable, definitely not the fact that the guy's a chiropractor is gonna discredit what he's saying, because he was talking about very simple things. He wasn't talking about this specific parts about performing science and epidemiology. It was all like simple stuff that you or I can understand. um
Mhm.
but a judge doesn't throw out a whole case because this little part is a little off. But of course that's what she did.
Yeah.
And it's okay. I wouldn't want to debate me either with the amount of stuff that I sent to her. Like it, it it's hard to look at all those things and be able to still keep up a line of bullshit.
Yeah, well, that's a great trait, putting in the work to do your own research and gather the information so you can process it and then come to an understanding. Um, right? That's I mean,
Right.
that's pretty much the trivium process, right? The threefold path to truth, which is critical thinking. You gather all the available information, the knowledge, the grammar, and then you process it, figure out the why, the reason, the meaning, or purpose, and then you can output that, the rhetoric, or how is the knowledge and understanding, how is it applying?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We need to make sure, as people that are kind of, you or I, we kind of put out a lot of information, a lot of stuff that some people have a hard time grappling with, and that's okay. But we as those people, you and I, and a lot of our friends within this kind of group, you know. Um, Not to sound too high and lofty, but I consider us to be ambassadors, right? We are ambassadors to this information, to what we consider to be the truth. What we know is the truth, but we'll let people kind of think whatever.
Yeah.
But as ambassadors, we need to represent, with integrity. We need to represent. Like you said, we need to fact check. We need to make sure, all the stuff that I posted to this person's thread, I went through all of it. I can't say that I could vouch for everything. I definitely didn't look up all the documents that were being referred to, but I certainly looked at it with a discerning eye, what I consider to be a discerning eye, and proceeded to put the information in there. If we're not making sure that our argument is airtight, watertight, people are going to find it. They're going to find whatever bullshit, whatever part that doesn't make sense, and they're going to use that, as they should. They're going to use that against you. And if you do that too much, if you're constantly putting out information that has these smoking guns and holes, people are gonna lose faith in you. At the very least, they'll end up scrolling right past your information. you know, they might even mute you, they might even unfriend you, you know,
Mm.
and then you've done the very thing that you weren't trying to do, you know, that you enabled them to kind of like tune you out. And in some cases, you may have even pushed them in the other direction, right? You may have even scared them away from even, you know, lifting that veil, because they're just like, oh, that's just crazy conspiracy theories.
Yeah, man, I know a lot of people that have told me outright, you know, "Oh, I blocked you because the stuff that you were posting and sharing on social media was just scaring the shit out of me."
Yeah,
And I'm like, "Well,
totally.
you know, the truth is belligerent, you know? I mean,
Yep,
but regardless, it's information, you know, and
that's right.
people need to get kind of out of a fear-based mindset and
Right.
look at it like that, information. So take it
Yep.
neutral
Right.
and look into it,
Right.
gather
It's
it.
it's it's not gonna hurt you. It's not like, the truth is not gonna hurt you. It can be scary, and it can be, you know, ugly, and it can get you in a foul mood, you know, like we've all gone through it. You and I have both, you know, looking into this stuff, y- you know, and you have to pace yourself. You really do. You have to balance yourself as you're doing it. You can't just dive right into the abyss, you know, because it will swallow you whole. And you know, so we don't want to do that. You know, I kind of, you know, the people that mute you or the people that block you or whatever, you know, I was thinking about it this morning. It's a bit like, and I'm not trying to belittle people, but it's a bit like, when you're dealing with a child, right? And we'll consider a child someone who is kind of early off on their path into looking into things, deeper into things, like what we're talking about. So it's a bit like a child, right? And if you're fucking throwing at them, you know, some super heavy stuff, you know, like you just jump right into it, you know, you're you're posting about the, you know, Illuminati or whatever. Um, you know, it's a bit like showing a child like a video of a great white shark attacking a seal or a little baby seal. You know,
Yeah,
you are exposing them to something that they are not ready to be exposed to. You know,
that's
that
right.
they are still early off in the whole process. You know, they just, like, that child just wants to go give that baby seal a hug. You know, it's like, oh, you know, and suddenly, oh, a big shark comes and, you know, does all this horrible, you know, gruesome stuff, you know,
Yeah,
and you know, they're traumatized. they're
yeah,
they're you know, it's not bad, you know, like that's nature. That's how nature is. That's the nature of the world. You know, there's predators out there, and people need to know about what they do. But if they're not ready, they're not ready. And we just, you know, we as truth tellers need to respect that. And you know, we need to give people time, you know, move on to someone who is an adult and is ready to see the nature, the reality.
yeah, absolutely. It's a stepwise progression, and you know, we're all on an individual journey. So you know, people are going to start somewhere, whether it's you know, 9/11 or it's consciousness or nature or wherever, you know. But
Yep.
the point is too that I like to promote to people is, you know, the desire to change, to look for change. It's going to happen regardless. So
Yep.
your attention to that is needed, and also um, knowledge and philosophy, right? Philosophy, when I used to think about philosophy, it was something I never looked into. It was kind of like that subject that was like pushed on the outskirts. It was only for, you know, tea time or coffee time for super smart people, or whatever, whatever label you can put on it. But philosophy is a core fundamental category that everyone needs to have within them, right?
Oh my
Because you're
goodness.
taking in you're taking in internal information. So it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's shaping who you are, right? How
Yeah.
you look at the world, and it's a huge important topic. And
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm so surprised. I mean, I'm not surprised, knowing how the world is. But philosophy should be taught early off to as many children that want to take it, or whatever, it should be so much more widespread. And we both know there's a reason why that doesn't happen in our education system.
oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, philosophy is the love for wisdom. um
Yeah, exactly. There's no love for wisdom. There's no money in love for wisdom.
exactly, yeah. There's hard truths that people need to understand, is that, like we're going back to, the belief of authority. There's To put it simply, there are people that are trying to control you, and they're making you believe certain things.
Yep,
So
exactly. It's been
that's why it's
happening.
so
It's been
important to
happening.
question the information that's coming out on
Yep,
any subject.
exactly.
Nice,
Exactly.
man.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. It's you know, I think if it everyone should explore what it means to be free, right? What it means to be um re- responsible for yourself, right? What it means you know to assume the risks of your own decisions, right? That's a lot of what's happening right now. Is the government is kind of like, you know, we're doing this because we care about you. We're doing this because it's for your own good. It's the same thing with you know drugs, what they call drugs.
Hmm.
Cannabis. We're not letting you smoke this because we know it's bad for you. You know,
Yeah.
And we know that's bullshit. Uh, a truly sovereign person will say, you know what, I will, I'll be the judge of that, right? I will decide what I put into my body. I will make the choice on what I do to my body. You know, Even I'll go so far as to say, if I'm on life support, or if I have an illness, an uncurable illness, and I'm in pain every day, if I decide that I don't want to do this life anymore, that I want an exit from my pain, I will do what I have to do. I don't give a shit if it's illegal.
Yeah, for sure. And legalities, right? Those are just justifications for the playing God, humans playing God, right?
Yep.
Just justification means to create a right, and we all know humans can't create rights.
Yep. Well, you and I know.
Yeah, I know. I keep going on these little tangents, but it's like, okay, that's like an episode in itself. We got to,
Yeah, totally,
I got to do that
totally.
in more
Yeah,
detail.
yeah.
But
Well, I know most of the people that will be listening to this understand these things, but I know we are going to have a few listeners that haven't really explored the kind of tenets that we're talking about,
yeah.
natural law and self sovereignty. Um, but yeah, man, yeah.
What's next on your list? You had a pretty good list, so
What's next on my list? Okay, so yeah, we covered, or we kind of covered some disseminating information, right? How to disseminate information, how to kind of debate properly. But I also I wanted to talk a little bit about the importance of uh, of telling the truth,
mm,
right? A lot of people will say, what's the point of knowing the truth? What's the point of looking into these things so deeply? Like, you're not going to be able to do anything, right? That's one of the first things I'll say is, even if you figure out what's going on, and you're able to connect all the dots, what's the point of even doing that, right? They don't believe that you can actually do anything about it, right?
Yeah.
Um, I don't subscribe to that. I certainly don't think that I'm gonna just save the world once I figure it out. Well, at least not in like a traditional sense. Um, but they'll say that, they'll say, what's the point of even doing it? What's the point of, like, a lot of people will say, what's the point of even telling the truth? You know.
Yeah.
Um, so what I will say to them, is basically, aside from the fact that it's just it's pretty obvious that telling the truth is the right thing. People, the world cannot operate under nothing but false information. If I'm building a house and I tell someone to cut a piece of wood at the wrong size, and he gives me the wrong size, and I try to use it, that the house is going to fall apart. Right?
Yeah, for
Why,
sure.
why, why would you bullshit? Why would you lie? Why would you tell me the wrong size? So that part is very obvious. But there's some other parts that aren't so obvious. And all of this stuff comes together, and we talk a lot about the whole natural law and self-sovereignty. When you are able to when you're able to tell people, when you're, first of all, as an individual, okay, knowing the truth, okay, if you understand how the media is working, how the government is working, if you understand clearly, if you can see clearly what they are doing, I usually keep a few channels open to the mainstream media. I don't actively seek out any information from them, but I definitely have enough friends that are constantly posting the same stuff, repetition. Um, I keep those channels open. I don't mute everybody who is, posting that stuff, mostly so that I can see where that narrative is going. I can see where people are being herded into, where their thoughts are being herded into, right? So I can see the trap, and I can infer what their strategy is and what they're trying to do, and possibly make predictions on what's coming after that, right?
Yeah.
And then also, the very real consequence of just being able to avoid the traps. You know, if if
Absolutely.
if you know that credit card companies, you know, have they have plans, that are banking on you missing your payments. They kind of structure it in a way, um, that the whole idea of you can just borrow all this money and you're probably going to be responsible with it. They know that's not the case. We know, because of advertising and how we're constantly bombarded with all this stuff, consumerism, that we're going to act irresponsibly. A lot of people don't. A lot of people are smart with their money, and they make the right choices. But a very large amount of people, they get their first credit card and they go buck, right?
Oh yeah.
So if you are aware of the traps, if you are aware of the that part of the banking system, you're more able to navigate the dangers of life. You know.
For sure. Yeah, gathering information, even what the mainstream's putting out. It's you got to take that information and hold it so you can just see what one outlet is spitting, what kind of malarkey, and
Right.
vice versa. On the, you got to check out the other alternative outlets, and
Yep.
from all angles. The more
All
information
angles.
that you can gather, the better picture, the clearer the picture is going to be when you start putting the pieces together.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I also want to say, it's pretty easy to completely demonize the mainstream media. They do have, that they're not telling 100% lies, right? It's not like everything they're saying is off. That's not how it works. That's not how propaganda works. Propaganda always has some truth in it. Otherwise it'll never set, right?
That's why it's so effective, right? It's they give you truth with the deception and lies to really give you the mind fuck.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. There has to be some truth in it. There has all propaganda, whether it's a movie or an article, it's uh yeah, there's got to be some bait. There's got to it can't just be all poison.
Yeah, all those institutions are they have an ostensible purpose, right? They're like, it's like a front show, right? They're representing
Yeah.
themselves as such,
Yep.
but really their true objective, their true purpose is something different.
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly. Like the institutions are there and they represent some very necessary concepts, right? We do need some sort of education system, whether it's kind of like a more localized thing or whatever. There does need to be something where children can learn. So I'm not saying you know widespread education is horrible. I'm saying the system and the way that we practice it
Mm,
is wrong and
yeah.
bullshit.
Yeah, no, for sure. Definitely. Nice. I love that, man. That's good. That's good stuff. I'm trying to check out some of my notes. So what are let me ask you a question. So what are some things that you can tell people that are um they're getting the itch, they want to start looking into certain type of information? What are some like key points, some general tactics that you can tell someone? I know we talked about a whole bunch, gathering information and that kind of stuff. Is there anything that you wanted to add?
um yeah, I guess I guess more on the sense of kind of, obviously, like we've said, do your fact checking, do your due diligence. Don't be lazy, right? It's very easy for us to be lazy. We are bombarded with information. um so don't be lazy. If you're not in the mood to look into something, be aware of that. Bookmark that stuff, come back to it at a later time when you are going to be more receptive. you
Mhm.
know um also just knowing yourself, knowing your audience as well. I wanted to touch a little bit on knowing your audience, because that is an art in itself. You have to be able to know what people are going to be receptive to, whether you're putting something out there on Facebook, or if you're having an actual conversation with someone in person. y- you know you have to be able to check people's temperature,
Mm,
and you have to be able to know them a little bit to know what they're open to, and to know which angle to approach. If you're talking to a nuclear physicist about something like this, maybe don't come at it from a theosophical point. Don't come at it from a spiritual, it's not going to compute. uh And like I said before, a lot of times you can send someone packing because whatever you're saying to them sounds like hooey,
Yeah.
So yeah, just checking people's temperature, and also um not just knowing how to approach it, but also know when you are saying too much.
Mm.
You know when you are inundating the person you're talking to with too much stuff. You don't want to scare them. You don't want to overload them. You have to have a healthy respect for the process of taking some of this stuff in. You've gone through it yourself. You and I we've gone through it, right?
Yeah.
It took a long time for some of these concepts and some of this information to really set in. It took years and years for us to kind of wrestle around with some of this stuff. It may feel like second nature to us now, even when seeing what's going on in current events, and you're kind of, I know what's going on. It's pretty fucking obvious. Yes, it may be obvious to you, but you've been thinking in those terms for a long time, right?
Yeah.
And some of the people that you're dealing with have not. Some of this stuff is very fresh and very new to them. So, give them a break. Respect the process. It's the truth is like a loaded gun. I think the truth, it's like you you want to make sure that they can handle it, right? You're not going to give a big old 45 to a little kid and say, there you go, kid, have at it.
Yeah, exactly.
That kid's going to hurt themselves, or they're going to hurt someone else. You got to make sure they can handle it. You don't want to, that they're going to go off and they're going to tell someone, they're going to misrepresent the information that you showed them. And they're going to misrepresent the truth in general. As an ambassador, they're going to cause damage. They're going to cause more damage than they're doing, because they didn't fully understand the concept that they weren't ready for. So yeah, just we want to go easy. You want to go easy. You want to, if someone's super hungry and they're like, come on, give me more content. And you're like, what else do you know about it? By all means, you know, all thrusters,
Yeah.
but
Dropping seeds, and then
yeah, exactly.
and then watering them up.
Sometimes it's just a seed. Sometimes you're just like, you know what? I'm just going to say this, and, give them something to think about. Don't force it. Don't, it's not about us proving anything to anybody. You take advantage of the opportunities when they present themselves, when you're like, hey, what do you know about this? And you say, oh, so glad you asked, and go ahead. But, it's not about screaming to everyone, I have something to say,
Mm.
because that then to them, it just seems like ego. It just seems like, you know, you're just acting like a little child that is like, I found something out important and I need to tell you, you need to listen to me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We
No,
want we
that's good
want them
points.
we want them to know that we're telling them because we care. We're not telling them because we need to prove something.
Exactly. I think with a lot of people take it that way too. That's the subconscious, excuse me, defense mechanisms kind of popping in, they, it's intruding. It's an attack on whatever belief systems they have. And,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
that's the immediate defense mechanism, um, shutting shit down. So, but
Yeah,
no, you
yeah,
you had some really good points, and the responsibility, the moral responsibility that I personally think a lot of people have, it is to look into information, especially in this day and age, right? Where it's the age of information. It's everywhere.
no excuses.
Yeah, for sure. And there is a control system in place, i.e. government and the institutions that represent society, mainstream news, education system, science, the medical systems. Those you have a response. The individual person, the public, has a responsibility to look into the information and question what the fuck these people are saying. And I believe everyone has a responsibility for the truth and for morality in general.
Yeah, exactly.
So
You gotta try. You gotta try.
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, not everybody has to go all the way. Not everybody is going to go all the way, right? We're not disillusioned, um, or I'm not under. I don't think that this kind of stuff is for everybody. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, man. Yeah, truth is important. We're trying to make truth great again.
Make truth great again. Here's a good quote. Let's see. That which can be destroyed by the truth should be.
Ooh,
That's from PC Woodgill.
yeah. Bullshit needs to be combated as it's coming out of the mouth. you know, you got to stop it in its tracks before it causes too much damage.
Yeah, man. I love it. That's good shit. Well, dude, we've been, time flies, man, when you're in good conversation. We've been going for a
I
good amount of time. So
love
I
it.
and I'm sure we're going to do more of these episodes too. So I think we'll start bringing it to a close.
Cool.
Is there
Sounds good, brother.
any final words that you want to say, my brother?
Yeah. Thanks, man. I want to say thanks again for getting this stuff together, man. I'm really, really, uh, if I can say, proud of you, dude. Yeah, and what you're doing. Will and I have been friends for a long, long time. It just so happens that him and I have both kind of uh followed this parallel path of seeking, and came back together much later on in life. And it's beautiful to be with you, man, and to be doing this stuff together. I love it. I think you and I both have a knack for it. um, but I also wanted to say real quick, we're going through a lot of stuff right now. The world, America, all of my friends, all of my family, everyone that we know. Um, there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's just so much going on, and and I don't blame people for being scared and for being worried. Of course, I'm scared and worried every now and then about this stuff as well. But there's a part of me that is not afraid. Right? Um, I know that everything is going to be okay, right? I know that I'm doing everything in my power to make sure that I am healthy and safe, and that my friends and family are healthy and safe. Um, and I just, as much as we talk about conspiracy stuff, I believe there is a large plot, a huge kind of thing going on where there's a lot of things in the works, and there's a lot of things.
Agendas.
There's a lot
Agendas.
of agendas to be concerned about and to watch. But I am also aware of an even deeper conspiracy, uh, one that has nothing to do with mortal men, you know,
Mm.
and uh, and that story I know to be true, and everything is going to be just fine. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and close out with something that I wrote. Um, God, it's been a while now. It's almost been 7 years since I wrote this, but it's a poem that I wrote. It's a bit of a I'm just going to call it kind of a spell, if you will. It's a good spell. I dabble a little bit in magic. Uh, and so I wrote this with the intention of it kind of being uh, catalyst in people's minds, you know. So I'm going to go ahead and share that, and then, yeah, um, here we go. To whom it may concern, to the ones who play with fire, never thinking you get burned. To the assholes of our epoch, to the cycle of psychos, to the give-a-shits and the hypocrites. To the masters, the gassers, the bombers, and the gunners. This is the way that it's always been doneers. From the slithering public serpents and their sneaky politics, to the ass-kissing cowards and the big swinging dicks. To the Napoleons, the Caesars, the emperors and kings. Yeah, your wealth trickles down, but you stole all those things. To the bankers and the barons and their negligent parents, you've got $1 million smiles, but your hate is so apparent. To this pharmaceutical giant, you got your diagnosis twisted. There's not a vaccine to fix this world, and we're not crazy. We're just gifted. We're just sensitive, and we sense that this atmosphere is dense. There's not enough space mixed in this matter. We need a break from all this chatter. And if you won't give it, it'll be taken. Thought we were weak, oh, you're mistaken. We only carry all your weight to keep this camel's back from breaking. And you pushed until we boil. We gave you seeds, you stole our soil, just like you're stealing the Fertile Crescent so you can drown in all that oil. And while they build up these towers, we abdicate power. How the fuck can you live on just $8 an hour? The system ain't broke. It's fixed. It's been rigged. It chews up your old folks and dumbs down your kids. It's selfish, malevolent, mad, and enslaving. These kids won't admit that their dad's misbehaving. With their war on terror and their war on ISIS, they got a war against the goddess in their masculine crisis. Little boys, little misguided boys. Mommy can't sleep with you making all that noise. And mommy can't rest while you torture all your kin. All these attempts to gain more power, it's like a drilling in her skin. There'll be no turning of cheeks. I have no compassion for this beast with its hooks in my flesh as it drains my spirit weak, as it enslaves all my tribesmen, and as it fragments my psyche. I've got words for this monster, and I won't say them nicely. To these agents of chaos, disruptors of peace, your castles will crumble and your actions will cease. To these liars you conspire while you drag humanity under. May you collapse from all the weight of all the gold you try to plunder. To these murderers, these rapists, these racists, these thieves, may you dry, become brittle, and then crumple like leaves. And if your veins become constricted from the pain that you've inflicted on yourself, the deed is done, because in the end, we are one.